This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Jacob Wilson joins for a second day in a row.
That's right.
Poor Steven Simcox has got to be on daddy nurse duty because he's got a couple of sick kiddos.
I know the predicament, but my kid is, one, not sick, and two, has a stay-at-home mother.
I had to be on sick wife duty yesterday. I had to leave the show early because she was feeling under the weather, but she's on the comeback trail.
I mean, I'll tell you, sick wife, that might be trickier than sick kid.
I can't. Here's the thing: I can't just give her a juice box and tell her to watch cartoons. I will say this: as tricky as that is, I promise you that I am way worse when I am sick. I am way worse. Like, in my mind, like, whatever I have, it's the end.
Just high maintenance.
It's just the end. Like, that's it. Like, call the priest. Have him come in.
Read the last rites.
Give me the last rites. If you want to set up phone calls with all my friends, like, let's do that right now while I'm still capable of talking. You have a cold, Paul. Well, that's how it is now. But tomorrow, it's going to be Ebola. I know it. This is what I've read about. Yeah. This is how Ebola starts, as the sniffles.
How did you ever get over any illness before getting married, Paul?
I don't know. Like, when you do, I'll tell you, when you do live alone, there's no one to, like, complain to. So it's probably, like, I might be bad, but again, you don't know.
No one cares because no one's here.
Yeah, no one cares. Like, you have to text your people that you work with. Like, look, I'm not coming in today. Not feeling, I'm sick. And then you just can move on. And then you can, like, around your house alone, watch Goodfellas or something. there's no end to, like, there's nobody there to be like, oh, hey, maybe somebody, like, brings you by something. But at that point, you kind of pull it together.
There's also nobody there to say, like, no, whiskey is not legitimate medicine. You shouldn't be using that to try to make yourself feel better.
Here's the deal. It kills germs.
It does.
I mean,
it's a disinfectant.
It kills a lot of things, but look, hey, Garrett.
Yep. I just had to Paul just hooked me up, man, with some great Colorado whiskey that I had to make a hot toddy. It helped a little bit, but
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. Dr. Paul coming in the clutch here.
That's the only medicine that I'm going to prescribe. What do you have? I think the whiskey made from the clear waters of the Rockies should help. Could help you there. Like, oh, you got a little tummy ache? Well, that's maybe more of a Tennessee thing.
Let's call up the people in Kentucky and Tennessee. See if they can help
let's
you
see
out.
what they've got. My leg hurts. Ooh, golly. I've had some good stuff down in Georgia. Let's see what they've got. But anyway, Jacob, there are 9 undefeated teams remaining. Yes. And my favorite thing to see on social media this time of year is when people are like, what if there are 5 undefeateds left? And I will tell you, especially from the Power 5, it's not going to happen.
No.
Because, look, right now, Florida State is the only undefeated team left in the ACC. Oklahoma is the only undefeated team left in the Big 12. Georgia is the only undefeated team left in the SEC. And there are 2 undefeated teams left in the Big 10, and there's 1 left in the Pac-12. Okay? So those are the Power 5s. 2 of those teams play each other for sure, and everybody else has to play out games. So it's not going to happen. I wish one day it would. That would be great. It would be hilarious if it did. I mean, if it did this year, because, 5 undefeated teams next year won't matter. It'll be 5 teams in the 12-team playoff. But if it did happen this year, that would be hilarious. But nothing about watching any team this year has told me that there's so many good ones that no one can beat them.
That's true. I mean, statistically, it's factual. Either Michigan or Ohio State will have a loss because they play each other. And there's a conference championship game that they'll have to play, and there's a chance that one of those 2 teams could lose there. And there's still weeks bridging that gap between now and that Ohio State-Michigan game. And frankly, I look at these undefeated teams, and the first one I want to talk about, I think it's apropos of the name of this show.
Yeah.
That's the Air Force.
Oh, yeah.
because I look at their schedule, and it's the Mountain West. It's weaker than any of these other schedules that we're going to talk about. But Air Force has been rolling through it pretty well. Troy Calhoun is showing why he has been at Air Force forever.
Well, and their toughest game is behind them in Wyoming. So Colorado State should be tough this week. They just had a big win. First time they beat Boise a couple weeks ago. They still have to play Boise at Boise. That's going to be tough. But I agree with you, Jacob. Air Force could roll through. Now, it's not going to mean much in the picture of
They won't be the Cincinnati from like 3 years ago, but I just think it's an interesting team to point out because I feel very strongly that they'll be undefeated at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think here's their schedule, the remaining. Colorado State, Army, Hawaii, UNLV, and Boise State. And Hawaii's on the road. That's a long road trip, but Hawaii's not very good right now.
Yeah, Timmy Chang's still trying to get that program back on track.
Well, I mean, they're not playing in a real stadium. They're playing in a practice facility, essentially.
It was understood in 2020 that they were going to go through some lean years in Hawaii.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the stadium that they have is condemned.
Rest in peace.
It's still there.
It's still there.
It won't be.
You can still go to swap meets on Saturday mornings in the parking lot at Aloha Stadium.
Actually, one of our Uber drivers told me that was like one of the most fun things you can do in Honolulu is go to the farmers market and swap meet at Aloha Stadium. I was like, well, kind of a bummer that I'm leaving on Saturday morning when it is. I kind of want to do that. But yeah, Air Force has a great shot. James Madison is still undefeated, and they're a crazy story because this is their first year in the FBS, so they can't go to a bowl. I think they'll probably take one loss around here. I mean, they got Coastal, they got App State, they got ODU. Like all those teams will probably beat them, but they could beat them. But they're a really good team, and they're going to be a force in Conference USA for a little while. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see with all this realignment coming up, what those Sun Belt, Fun Belt teams that are out there on the coast. If those guys get any bumps up in the ACC, but that's just a random thought.
Yeah. So we've taken, and then Liberty has Louisiana Tech, ODU, Massachusetts, and UTEP left. They've got a great shot to go undefeated under Jamie Chadwell, who should be coaching in the Power Five, and I think will be eventually. Maybe we'll talk about him maybe in our next segment over which Power Five teams will have new coaches next year. But right now we're trying to eliminate undefeated teams. So we haven't done a good job of that with the teams from the group of five, because it does look like they could easily be like two or three of them could, or all three of them could stay that way.
I mean, Air Force, James Madison, they've got a whole different set of circumstances, but Air Force especially, that's the team I look at, and they're probably thinking, why can't we be having this type of a season before, or like during a year from now or 2 years from now when the playoff is going to expand? Because I think they'd be in it.
Yeah, I think that'd be interesting. That'd be interesting to see them in it. Jacob, we saw Air Force in person.
Yes, we did
last year. Although
froze our asses off.
Do you know what I remember about that particular game? Nothing. I remember nothing, because from the time that we got there until the time that we left, my body temperature was 82 degrees. Like, it was not good. I was, you hear me now. Like, I'm a bit of like.
My fingertips are just now defrosted from that game.
And we had gloves. It wasn't like we had gloves on and we're dragging the stuff. I will forever. I remember his face. If I see that parking lot guy somewhere, I'm just going to berate him. Look, man, I know that you have to be out here too, but can we work together?
Just pull up and not have to walk a half a mile in this, 12-degree weather.
It wasn't 12. I would have loved it to be 12. It was 2. It was 2 degrees. We were walking outside. Oklahoma, Jacob. Their remaining schedule: Kansas this week, Bedlam for the last time in the foreseeable future, West Virginia, BYU, and TCU. Outside of the next two, the last three, especially the way those three teams are playing right now, I think kind of lined up well for them.
Yeah. Oklahoma, they definitely have a attractive path.
And they had their scare last week against UCF. No Jalen Daniels this week at Kansas.
What I think about most of all with Oklahoma is the likelihood of them getting a rematch in the Big 12 title game with Texas.
Yeah.
And in that scenario, I don't see Oklahoma beating them for a second time.
Especially if Quinn Ewers is back.
And
we don't know if Quinn Ewers is going to be back. We don't know how Malik Murphy is going to play. So those are the wild cards that it comes to the rematch there. But I just part of me thinks that Malik Murphy is going to be all right.
I think he'll be fine. Yeah. And even if it is him playing in that title game, I mean, I know I said Texas, you got to look out for them this week playing BYU, but I think that ultimately they'll get back past them and then I hate to say it, but they've got a really good path to the Big 12 title.
If you can get Malik Murphy through the first game, I think you're going to be all right. If you have to like go to Arch Manning or something else happens, then they're in trouble.
Yes,
and
big trouble.
While Arch Manning's ceiling is very high, he has not played, and he was not playing. And Garrett, maybe you can kind of help illuminate this. He was not playing in the highest class of Louisiana football last year, so he's got to get better practicing against Division I athletes because he didn't play against them that much in high school.
No, most of the teams that Newman played were just these private schools with honestly just not that athletic of kids. You know, they weren't playing the inner city kids in Louisiana. So yeah, I don't see it really translating. I think he's going to be fine. The bloodlines, we've seen him at camps and what he can do with his arm, but it's going to take a developmental process. I think this right here was the exact reason why Malik Murphy stayed. I was so glad that he stayed at Texas because if you look at Quinn, the last time he's played a full season, or the only time really, is his junior year in high school. You knew it was inevitable. He was going to get hurt. So I think that was smart by Malik Murphy. But yeah, Arch is going to be fine, but I think he's definitely got a lot of work to do till he can play good at this level.
Yeah, he's never, there are like, and I'll just tell you, I'll give you a story from the high school level. And this applies as you go up levels, but we were doing Midway a couple years ago, and there was a quarterback who was a really good player at the 2A level that transferred into Midway.
Yeah, I know who you're talking. Yes,
he's a very good athlete. I'm not going to mention him by name. He wound up going to Idaho. I mean, he
went to Jacobs
athlete.
High School.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and so he was, and then he went to Connolly after that. And he never really played that much. He was injured a lot. But that first year at Midway, like all the Midway fans were like, oh, we got to play this kid. He was so good at Bosqueville. And you're like, yeah, but he's never even practiced against the guys he's practicing or practiced with the guys he's practicing with now. Like his line was like 3 guys that were going to Division I. He was playing against teams that had D1 guys all over the place. He had never even, like, maybe he saw 1 or 2 of those guys.
At camps would be the only time you would really see that. Yeah. That doesn't translate on the field.
So then if you're Arch Manning, listen, Arch is, clearly like an unbelievable talent, but there is an adjustment period because even he has not, like, he goes to practice and he's never even seen guys like this before on the field in a game situation.
You can remember the name. I can't remember the name. Texas has done this before. When they had the kid from Jacksboro, oh my gosh, I'll have to look this up, but they've been in this situation before. It didn't translate.
What was it, Traylon Shed?
No, he was from Cayuga. Let me find this. Hang on.
Yeah, from Jacksboro. Did he play with Tommy Allison?
He was the quarterback, and he went to Texas, and he played, but it did not work because the transition did.
He wanted to be a tight end, right?
Something like that.
Yeah. So, golly, what was his name? Oh, Garrett's going to look him up. But yeah, so they've had it before. So you don't want to make that huge jump.
Right.
There's a reason that some of the true freshman guys that Trevor Lawrence can come in and play. Trevor Lawrence was playing against high level competition. Like he was playing against those guys. And then, Colt McCoy may be a bit of a different story, but he's still redshirted. So, he even had that time because he was at Jim Ned High School in Tuscola, Texas. And he came up, but he had that redshirt time to learn.
And he also had Vince Young to learn from.
Yeah, exactly. So there was a bit of a buffer zone. So Malik Murphy.
Tyrone Swoops.
Was he from White House? He's from White House. East
Yeah.
Texas. Cheryl Swoops' nephew.
I remember Tyrone Swoops.
Yeah, Tyrone Swoops. Yes. I have a very funny story to tell you guys about his commitment to Texas that I cannot tell. Is concerned Smokey. It's just hilarious when we were doing on the radio.
I'm looking forward to this.
I cannot wait to tell you guys the story that you reminded me of it. It's so hilarious. It is so Smokey. Anyway, they can't like rely on him to be ready right away.
And
I know that people think that like, just because you are a Manning, you're going to be good. Like,
I mean, I think it's very telling that Malik Murphy stayed at Texas.
Yeah.
Just that simple fact, because look, Malik Murphy, he could have gone anywhere in the country he wanted to out of high school. He had offers from absolutely every program that you could think of. And so if he ever made the decision to hit the portal, he would become the belle of the ball once again. And so the fact that they brought in a kid with the lineage of the Manning family and Malik Murphy said, you know what, I can beat this kid out. I think that's kind of telling for how Texas should be feeling about the possibility of Arch taking the field. Because if Malik Murphy said, I'm just another guy in this quarterback room right now, I mean, it's just very, very telling.
yeah, look, and look, he's playing for either being the starter at Texas when Quinn Ewers leaves or the starter somewhere else right away when he transfers. Like, that's what he's doing right now. So, and this was all to talk about Oklahoma. I think they've got a good shot to go unscathed until then, but it's hard for me to see, given, a couple of their games this year. Look, they only beat Cincinnati 20-6, right? They, had that great win against Iowa State. The Texas win was great. And then they're kind of, they're a little bit of a high wire act week to week.
Yeah, they've got an attractive path to going undefeated,
Yeah.
but I just don't think that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I can't tell you who it's going to be that finally gets them, but I've seen enough weaknesses and a couple of soft points in this Oklahoma team to where somebody can reach up and bite them.
Yeah. So let's go to Washington here.
Yeah, that's who I was thinking of next.
Washington, I think, has the talent to. I just think that their schedule and no one's schedule, like their schedule remaining, lines up for them to have at least one loss. They have Stanford this week. Then they have USC, who I don't think anybody is scared of anymore, but they still have Caleb Williams, and they still could turn that into a shootout. And now, since they their backs are against the wall, you could maybe see this like, all right, well, damn the torpedoes, let's go.
Yeah.
And from them, they have Utah, Oregon State, and then we don't know if that's the last Apple Cup or not, but an Apple Cup against a good Wazoo team that will be out for blood.
Yes, they will.
So that one, I think, that one would be super interesting.
The game before that, Oregon State. It's going to be a similar situation.
Out like 2 weeks in a row of out for blood. And Oregon State, if they continue on their path, keep winning, and you're in the Pac-12 title game again, they can smell it. Like they know what they can do. I think we can dismiss one real quick. I don't know if we can dismiss one. Look, Georgia has an interesting path here too, in that they've not been world beaters this year, in that they haven't played anybody really tough. They have, one big win over an SEC opponent, and that was over Kentucky. And then they won by 17 against Vanderbilt, but the old Georgia really showed itself against Kentucky, and then Brock Bowers is out for a little while. They've got the cocktail party this week. We said they were on a bit of upset alert yesterday, Jacob. It depends on how fired up Florida can be and play above their station offensively. Defensively, it's a pretty solid team, although not as athletic, but they're very fundamentally sound. Offensively, they just kind of Billy Napier has decided we're going to do it this way. It is bland, it's vanilla. It is so far away from Spurrier or Tebow right now, but they just don't have the horses to do that.
Yeah, they don't have the super athletic, Tebow and Anthony Richardsons, and I can't blame Billy Napier for wanting to go with that approach.
They had Anthony Richardson last year, and it was a bit of a roller coaster because they didn't have a lot of playmakers around him.
That's true. He was just kind of a one-man cowboy in that offense, and it kind of put a little makeup on the pig, if you will.
Yeah. Now, I do think that they have two guys that don't get talked about enough, mostly because Florida's not putting up big offensive numbers week in and week out. But Ricky Pearsall is an NFL receiver. He's really good. Garrett, I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he's
Ricky
good.
Pearsall, really good. And Trevor Etienne, Travis's brother, is really good. And as a person who's had to deal with both the Etienne brothers playing my favorite team, I cannot wait for that little
for that family to finally graduate,
for that bloodline to be out of college football. Like just
those two are why I picked them to beat Utah earlier in the year, and that backfired on me significantly.
Yeah, I mean, and look, Graham Mertz has had Billy Napier in his wisdom has decided look, I'm not going to ask Graham Mertz to do anything special at all. We're going to keep it dink and dunk. We're going to keep it very simple. We are not going to say oh, hey, you know what we're going to do? This really complicated play. No, here's your reads. Get the ball out. Don't turn it over. Just be boring, Graham. Be boring. It's fine. Your name is Graham Mertz. You're an accountant. Be an accountant. You're not Caleb Williams. Just go ahead. Be that guy. It's fine. You're not our former quarterback, Jesse Palmer, who's, a television star and the host of The Bachelor.
I mean, Jesse Palmer's greatest skill on the football field was just being handsome.
He would just get there under center and guys would just get lost in his eyes. Man, that guy's.
I mean, but coming back around to Georgia, though, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and mark my words here. I think that Ole Miss beats them.
I think, look, Mizzou, surprisingly good.
Yeah.
Almost got them last year, although that game is between the hedges. Ole Miss between the hedges and Tennessee on the road before a road tilt against Georgia Tech to end the season. And Georgia Tech, I think, got theirs a few weeks ago. And I don't think they can have that match again. Mostly because Kirby Smart wouldn't be that dumb.
No,
they had to have one of the dumbest things ever happen to win that game.
Yeah,
so
to pull that one out.
I do think somebody gets Georgia. I really do.
I think it's Ole Miss because it seems like every year it's either Ole Miss or Mississippi State. They jump up and bite somebody. Yeah. And Ole Miss is actually very good. I think Lane Kiffin will probably be fired up and have his team fired up to go into Georgia and win that game. And like you mentioned, this isn't the same world-beating Georgia Bulldog team that we've seen the last 2 years. I think Ole Miss, that's the perfect opponent to go in and spoil the undefeated season.
Okay, so now we're down to Florida State, Ohio State, and Michigan. So what do you want to do? Do you want to talk about Ohio State and Michigan last, or do you want me to go on my diatribe about how I'm terribly worried about Florida State losing a game?
Let's go ahead and knock out
the diatribe?
Yeah.
Okay. My diatribe about the tribe. Okay, here we go. They are very strong finishers. Every game this year, the third and fourth quarter is just an opus of bloodletting. I mean, they just roll through it. Even Clemson, the way that they slowly turned up on Clemson, because I went back and watched that game, is pretty impressive given that Clemson had a really good game plan against them.
Yes, they did.
Really good game plan against them. They just kept slightly turning the screws. They give up a big play, but then they'd make a big play and just turn the screws until their big playmakers, got loose, which is how they won the game. Against Duke, Riley Leonard's out there. The game is looking very much like the Clemson game, almost a mirror image, because Mike Elko is no dummy and is one of the best coaches in the country, and said, Clemson kind of showed the best path forward to a team like us beating Florida State, even though that Duke has never done that before. And Riley Leonard's out there toughing through everything, and just in the most impressive fashion. And he didn't look good, but he was good enough, and he was rallying the team around him. And then the minute he went out was the minute that, that Vegas was right, because there's a 14.5-point spread. Florida State won by 18, and Vegas didn't think Riley Leonard was going to play. The minute he stopped playing, the minute the spread happened.
Exactly. I mean, it was kind of just Riley Leonard's there. We're having fun. This is a fun little party that we're at. Yeah. But then the moment he goes out, the white flag comes up.
Yeah, exactly. It was just one of those things they couldn't do anything about it because there's such a huge drop off between him and the backup quarterback. Now look, the next two, Wake and Pitt, Florida State on the road, they should win both those games. And I don't think it should be an issue at all. I think they'll probably have their times where you're like, what are you doing? Quit playing with your food, and then they'll do what they've done. But Miami at home on November 11th. It's a game that always is going to be tough. I say always. Last year was they could have played naked and won.
Yeah.
I mean, Miami wasn't hitting anybody. So
it's actually not a bad game plan if you think about it.
Yeah. But honestly, no shoulder pads just out there. No shoulder pads, no helmets. No one would have gotten hurt.
I mean, I'm a little bit of a pirate history nerd, like the great late Mike Leach. But some pirate ships, they used to get naked to rob and pillage. And hey, I'm not going to discount a good game plan. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Or were they just naked and they happened upon a ship and were like, "Hey, we've got to get to this."
They pretty much roll up on a ship with more firepower, and they'd be like, "Oh, we need to get creative here." And so, what's more intimidating than making another man fight you while looking at your junk?
I guess so. Yeah, that is pretty creative there. But so Miami scares me. Florida at the Swamp, always going to scare you. So, but I do think FSU is so much better player for player than all the rest of their teams on the schedule that their best chance to lose would be in the ACC title game. But I don't know who that's going to be now, because now that Duke is probably not going to have Riley Leonard this week against Louisville. Louisville could get back in that conversation really easily. UNC took that loss, and they have a tough schedule coming up. So, I don't know. I think it's probably going to be North Carolina, but
I would guess North Carolina at this point too, because they still have Drake May. They can at least hang their hat on that. But yeah, the Miami and the Florida games. If I'm an FSU guy like you, I'm worried too, because those are rivalry games that it seems like it doesn't really matter who's having the better season. Mm-hmm. They're always going to be, competitive and bitter. It's kind of like the Iron Bowl. Every year when Alabama is the clear number one, Auburn, they can kind of hover and do their own thing throughout the season. But when it comes to Iron Bowl time, anything can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's go to Ohio State and Michigan. Michigan has 2 shots to lose, in my opinion. It is in 2 weeks against Penn State on the road, although I just don't see that happening based on what we've seen from Penn State. And, they're like a better version of Clemson in that everything is good, but they don't have playmakers on the outside that can go win. The difference between Penn State and Ohio State, because Abuka didn't play, was one guy, was Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, Ohio State and Michigan, different story. It is in the big house. Like, that's where Michigan could most likely lose. Ohio State also most likely to lose there. They also have Wisconsin this week, which could be a sneaky upset in Madison, but Braden Locke starting at quarterback, and Wisconsin just hasn't – they're not all the way there under Luke Fickell, although I think that in a year or two he will have them humming.
Yes.
Like ridiculously humming, and Madison's going to be one of the toughest places to play in the Big Ten. It already is, but like in the new Big Ten, Luke Fickell will have, the Badgers ready to hunt. But I think Michigan will go undefeated. I don't think here's the deal. I don't think the scandal, like all this stuff going on, affects them at all, because Jim Harbaugh doesn't give a crap. He doesn't care. Like it's not going to bother him. He has no repercussions for this.
The only thing that stops Michigan from winning the national championship this year is if the NCAA decides to get off their ass and do something about these allegations of cheating.
Yeah.
But if they just sit on this and let them play out the schedule, you got your national championships right there.
Yeah. No. I mean, it's absolutely true that's what you've got Michigan in the CFP to me. Especially considering that they who they're going to get out of the Big Ten West.
They've just so aggressively pummeled everyone on their schedule.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been that challenging of a schedule, but they've done what you do when you're, wanting to be the best team in the country. You get the schedule that you're given, and you go out there and you just beat the crap out of everybody.
Yeah. So look, out of the Power Fives, I say we have at most 3 unbeatens, because I think somebody's going to get got, and nobody has to worry about it. There's probably only going to be one when it's all said and done.
I think Michigan and Florida State are the only 2 that I see feel really confident.
Well, they're the only 2. Florida State is through the tougher part of their schedule. Not to knock Miami and Florida, because those would be tough games, but LSU, Duke, and Clemson were the 3 hardest people they had to play this year. So they've come through those. All very similar games where they start slow and finish strong. Mostly because, and I get that they're confident, Mike Norvell likes to do really risky things early, which I like. But like when he does those risky things, he doesn't do it in the safest way possible. Like he's like, all right, we're going for it on 4th and 6. Okay, great. All right, you're at the 39. The 39. You're not going to make a 56-yard field goal. All right, what play you're going to run? Oh, we're gonna run a counter play. And you're like, Mike. Like,
It could be a double pass like Dabo. Just
yeah, like
disaster.
do something. Do something that is high percentage.
It's like you got balls, but wear a cup. Like, come on.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great way to do it. Yeah, like it's fine to take a risk, but like don't like bet the house.
Yeah.
Like it's okay to take a risk. When we come back, which Power 5 jobs will be open at the end of this year? There's already one open, Michigan State. Which ones will be open and have new coaches? This is the triple option on 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
All right, Jacob.
Paul?
2 days in a row. Do you feel like properly stretched today because I gave you 24 hours? Well, not even 24, but like 18 hours of notice.
I'm feeling limber.
Yeah, good. Like yesterday, it was like I woke up and I was like, I think that. And this is old man crap that happens to you. I was like, I think Royden is in like San Antonio or something, and he was there like a couple weeks ago. I was like, are you in? So I texted him, like, you in San Antonio? He goes, close, Scotland. I was like, oh yeah, same. So I was like, yeah. So I guess you're not going to make it in today for the show. So I text Jacob, and he was here. And then Steven texted me last night and says, I've got sick kiddos, and Jacob's like, I'm here at the ready. Let's roll.
Yeah.
Sent me Nicolas Cage gif.
Okay, let's ride.
Yeah.
Gone in 60 seconds.
Yes. Gone in 60 Seconds, what I think was the forerunner to Fast and Furious.
That's actually a good point.
Like that, like they saw that movie, like, how can we do this, but like over and over and over again?
Yeah.
And then you won't like even Nicolas Cage, who does a lot of movies, if you ask him to do another Gone in 60 Seconds, he'd been like, no.
I mean, just get Vin Diesel in here to talk about family, and then and we got ourselves a franchise.
How many lines in a Fast and Furious movie from Vin Diesel like go through? They say a clean drive is a way to a clean life. They say starts out at least 5 sentences per Fast and the Furious movie. They say.
Yep.
Which I think is maybe why The Rock was like, I can't do this anymore with this guy. I have a problem with these scripts, and I'm The Rock. So, which Power 5 jobs will be open this year? Jacob, I'm going to throw a wild card out there for you.
All right.
I'm going to make a bold prediction that USC will be open. Because I say this, doesn't mean that anybody's getting fired. I think Lincoln Riley is going to take an NFL job.
I mean, Caleb Williams going to the NFL is the only thing that I could, think of to support that take, because you've got a team with a really bad defense right now. You're winning entirely on the back of your offense, and specifically your otherworldly quarterback. And it's no it's no secret that he's going to be the number one pick in the NFL draft this year. And like the question about Lincoln Riley leaving for the NFL is which NFL job is worth taking as opposed to staying at USC?
Oh, there's lots of them that are worth taking, especially if you don't want to, like, although he doesn't understand, like, he'll get to deal with older beat writers.
Yeah.
And he might be able to control the narrative a little bit more because there's rules in the NFL when it comes to, like, media that are sacrosanct throughout the whole thing. But I think, because he keeps talking about some of the things, I think he's while he can be, he's one of the kings of the transfer portal, and he can go in there and he's got all this NIL backing and all these things that jumping in the NFL.
I mean, I never thought we'd see Urban Meyer in the NFL because he was, so incredibly good at what he was doing in college. And look, I mean, maybe Lincoln Riley needs to go and find himself like Nick Saban did when he went to the Miami Dolphins and then came back. Or who knows, Lincoln Riley might have what it takes to be incredibly successful at both levels. But I'm skeptical just because of how good he's got such a good thing going. And I think if he stays at USC, they're just going to continue to get better. They're going to the Big Ten. Things are changing. I mean, I'd be very surprised. But, I mean, the question, if Lincoln Riley decides to leave, who do you bring in after that? Because if you're a USC fan, you got to be thinking, like, what the hell? We got to go find a new guy again.
A new Lincoln Riley. I think he's sitting on your staff right now. I think it's Cliff Kingsbury. Because you can go, well, he's learned from last time, and he's learned from being here that you have to have defense. And Cliff Kingsbury has no loyalty to Alex Grinch, and he can let him go. And you can maybe see if Cliff Kingsbury can be Lincoln Riley part 2 and roll through that. So
they also have a new AD, and he has made USC look pretty bad, and you have some former USC players comparing this to the Clay Helton days. So it's not good for Lincoln Riley.
Yeah. So Lincoln Riley, if you're the NFL team that thinks he's going to be an NFL coach, and I think he'll be a fine NFL coach. I mean, I think he's got that. And look, there's a job 90 miles north of here that is very tenuously like held by anybody who ever holds it. Look, Mike McCarthy's got to get that offense going well because he ran off Kellen Moore, and that's the weak part of the team, and he's in charge of it now. So I think Jerry Jones would love to have a Lincoln Riley, a young guy, especially if he can convince Dan Quinn to stay and have Lincoln Riley do this side and Dan Quinn do the other side.
It sounds incredibly nice. As a Cowboy fan, I don't hate what you're saying right now.
Yeah. So I think, I think that's a possibility. I think I'll tell you another one that I am now positive is going to be open. I am saying 10-1, Michigan will be open.
Yeah,
I think Jim Harbaugh with the coach of the Raiders or the Bears. Like, it's the Raiders or the Bears. Jim Harbaugh is going to one of those places. He will be there, and he won't be at Michigan. Michigan will be open because this thing has only shown that they're not going to stop coming for Jim Harbaugh, and especially even if he has whatever plausible deniability, like, oh, I just thought Connor was good at this, and this whole chart that he had right in front of me at the Ohio State game last year, I just thought, like, man, this kid's good. I should hire more Marines. And by the way, in the next segment, Jacob is going to show you how he would do it, Ocean's 11 style, which I knew I bring that movie up a lot on this show because it's one of my favorites. But I think Michigan will be open.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan will be open. I agree. I think Jim Harbaugh going to the Chicago Bears, that it makes way more sense than anything else that we've said in this segment so far. He played for the Bears. They've got Justin Fields, an exciting, talented quarterback there. It's a more enticing job in Chicago than it has been in a very long time. And if you're,
and Nick, you're also going to have probably the first, and you're going to have 2 ticks in the top 5.
And look, he can leave Michigan before shit hits the fan the way that Pete Carroll left USC in a similar situation.
Yeah, exactly. So he can go back to the NFL. He was a fantastic NFL coach, got the 49ers to the Super Bowl, and then he left under leadership changes and everything that were going on at the 49ers, and everything's worked out. I'll also throw this one out while we're still in the Big Ten. Iowa has a very good chance, like, the way that people are really, they're going to have an interim AD, and then they're going to have a potentially new AD. Now, granted, if Beth Getz, who's the interim AD, if she gets the job, she has a lot of, loyalty and history with Kirk Ferentz, but also you need to start out this job by making a big move. And the first big move she's going to make is going to be firing Kirk Ferentz's kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or telling him, Kirk, you can keep him on staff, but he can coach special teams or something because
anything else.
Offense. And Kirk Ferentz has kind of doubled down on this works. Yeah, it works to where you can win enough, but how much can you tell your fans, like, look, we're going to knock right on the door. But when we play a team like Penn State or Michigan or Ohio State or someone in a bowl game that has a good offense, then we're going to get smoked.
Yeah, it's the consistently losing to the better teams, like you just mentioned, and I know it's the brand of football in the great state of Iowa, but how much boring football can you stand to watch?
Look, Iowa State's found a way around it, right? A couple different times. Look,
they've had more entertaining football to watch.
Yeah.
They've had Seneca Wallace and Brock Purdy. Can you name me 3 Iowa quarterbacks from the past in Kirk Ferentz's tenure at Iowa?
I'll give you Drew Tate. I'll give you Nate Stanley.
Oh, you're getting me hot and bothered, Paul.
Let's see. Who else can I throw out there? Cade McNamara was this year. So there's 3.
All right, you're a student of the game. Fair enough.
Yeah,
fair enough.
But no, if you said, can you give me 5, I would have been like, I can give you 4. Maybe we'll come to a 4th quarterback. But
I would have started naming guys that played at Purdue.
Yeah. Yeah. So, no, but it's not impossible for a school like Iowa to get a good quarterback.
No, it's not.
It's not impossible for them to get good wide receivers and good running backs. Like, they exist, but they've decided that they get great offensive linemen. If there's an offensive lineman, a tight end, a linebacker, or a safety available from Iowa in the draft, I'm taking them.
Yeah, they grow offensive linemen and tight ends on trees in Iowa and in the Midwest, but it has not translated to a team that is consistently on watch for winning that conference.
Look, they had George Kittle, right? George Kittle. Did I hear of George Kittle when he was at Iowa? Not really.
Sam Laporta tearing it up for the Lions right now.
Yeah. And that's one of those things that if you're Iowa's leaders, you can see this guy look at this guy who's in the NFL. He could have had 70 touchdowns with a good quarterback. They did not use Sam Laporta to his fullest there. Now, look, they won a lot of games, but I think Kirk Ferentz, and I don't think he's going to get fired by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think that this might be all right, well, if the writing's on the wall that this is what I have to do to move forward in this conference that is adding big offensive juggernaut teams, then I'm just going to step away. And so, especially since they might have a whole new athletic department, period, you don't first of all, you don't want to be the new AD who fires Kirk Ferentz because you've only had 2 coaches in the last 70 years or whatever it is with Hayden Fry. I say 70. It's probably not that, but it feels like it. You've had Hayden Fry and Kirk Ferentz, and that's it. So your fans are going to be comfortable with a coach who's going to be there a long time. So you have to find that guy. But, who would that would be a Lance Leipold job to me if somebody were to get him away from Kansas, because he's got the offense. He can retain some people that are defensive minded, and they can maybe have kind of a combo there at Iowa. What other Power 5 job would I think would be open?
I can think of one.
I think Oregon State, we talked about yesterday, might wind up being open, but that he might be filling one of those other jobs we talked about.
Yeah. What about Texas A&M, Paul?
Oh, Texas A&M's going to be open. I've talked to a couple people who would know.
It's been hanging off.
And I've gotten differences of opinion on it. One says they'll wait and see how he does when Texas comes in, and then when he loses to Steve Sarkisian, then they'll have the appropriate. But the other one said, look, if you're going to pay $76 million, then what's the difference of paying $68 million or whatever, or $66 million, whatever it is? So if you're going to pay that much money, then
I've got a tinfoil hat theory for you for what's going on in College Station right now.
Okay.
I think Bobby Petrino is tanking on purpose to try and become the interim coach and fight for that job.
Well, he's not gonna be the guy they would hire anyway. Because when Jimbo...
That's why I said it was a tinfoil hat.
Yeah, it's very tinfoil hat theory, because when they said, Jimbo, you have to go get an offensive coordinator, and he said, all right, F you, here's what I'm gonna do, Bobby Petrino, nobody was like, Oh, yay. Well, Bobby Petrino, everything's fixed. Let's go. Listen, Jimbo's a real sour son of a gun, right? So let's go get one who's even more sour. Like it's like did anybody ever like give you the jelly beans as like a prank joke that all taste bad? You ever do those? You ever do those?
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Like something like a gag gift, like somebody gives you jelly beans that taste like grass and mud and
Like farts.
yeah, all that stuff. And then like you do it as a joke.
Yeah.
That's what Jimbo Fisher is doing with the coaching staff. Like, oh, you want jelly beans? Mm-hmm. Oh, here's toilet water. I gave you jelly beans. You didn't specify you wanted the good kind.
Yep. I mean, who do you think takes that job then?
That is a good question. I think Mike Elko would be a big time candidate for it.
What about Garrett Riley?
No, I think I wouldn't be surprised to see Mike Elko call Garrett Riley and say, come with me. Garrett Riley, I think, has been hurt a little bit by he took a job at Clemson not understanding that Clemson didn't have what TCU, like, in his mind, and I don't blame him for thinking this because we all thought it, well, if TCU has Quentin Johnston and Darius Davis and guys like this who can stretch the field and make huge plays, Kendry Miller, then I know they got Will Shipley and they got this big dude Phil Moffitt running back, and I know Cade Klubnik because recruited him while he was in high school. So yeah, I think I can win there. I'm sure they've got some great wide receivers, and then you get there in the spring and you're like, hey, Dabo, I
need more.
under the impression. Can we go get in the transfer portal? Why did you slap me? I don't know if that was necessary. So no, I think that Garrett Riley's shot as a head coach has been hindered. I actually think nowhere in the Pac-12 will have a new coach. I think everybody will have the same, except for USC, who's going to lose theirs. But in my theory, that Lincoln Riley is going to the NFL.
What about Arkansas?
Arkansas is probably going to be open as well. And that one might be a Jeff Traylor kind of a thing.
That's because he's been there and he knows East Texas.
Yeah,
that would be close.
That would be a slam dunk.
Yeah.
For Arkansas.
Yeah, I think Arkansas being open and getting a Jeff Traylor would be huge.
I mean, if you're coaching in Arkansas, you need someone who can recruit in Texas.
And I think Mississippi State might be open.
It should be.
I think that they did what they had to do given their situation, but I do think that. Again, maybe it wasn't.
It's not working.
It's not working. I mean, everybody understands, but it's not working.
Yeah.
So, and that one will be interesting too to see where they go on that end. But as far as that, I think that's who's going to be open. I know Garrett wants LSU to be open, but it won't.
Yes, I need to see. I'll give him about another year, and if it's not a natty in Baton Rouge, he got to go.
Listen, I like how Garrett walks into a restaurant and orders champagne, and they're like, "Oh, we have Moet," and he's like, "No, Cristal." Like, "Oh, we don't have that here." He's like, "No, Cristal." And they're like, "Well, how about Moet today?" And he's like, "Okay, but if I come back here next year and there's no Cristal, I am burning this place to the ground."
Straight up, office space.
Yeah. No, I respect that because, Garrett, you and I are similar. Our schools have been very good. And
There's a standard.
There's a standard. So you need to compete. I know it's going to get harder with a 12-team playoff, but I want you competing for that every year or every couple of years. I get that you're going to have a 9-3 where somebody gets hurt or you've got a redshirt freshman quarterback or something like that. But you should be only losing to your rivals that are good.
And your defense at LSU should never be this bad. Ever.
Yes. That's a good point.
Tell us how you really feel, Garrett.
Yeah, I will. So, no, I do think that there are programs that you can expect to have that of. Look, the losses that I will accept occasionally are ones to rivals and big time, big teams. But when you before Dabo really got Clemson going, it was he was losing to FSU, he would lose in the bowl game, and then he would lose a game in the regular season to somebody that you're like,
how'd that happen?
What are you doing? What are you doing? And then when he got his team together, that's how it went. Okay, shorter segment here at the end, but Jacob shows you how he would steal signals as an ex-Marine videographer. I guess you're never an ex-Marine, are you?
If you never see me again or hear my name again starting next year with football, this segment is why.
You work for a staff, but they don't know.
Kaiser Soze.
When we come back, Jacob plans a heist. This is the triple option.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Okay, it is time for Jacob Wilson to plan a heist.
I mean, I guess the heist is you are
signals.
Stealing signals.
Yes.
I mean, first of all, you can't look like your normal self. You just can't. You got to go into a game, and I would dress like someone who is working in maintenance or someone who looks like they belong there. Because
what if say you buy a ticket in, let's just say, the Ohio State section, right?
Right.
So you can see the other sideline. Would you not maybe paint yourself up like an Ohio State fan?
You're still drawing attention to yourself if you do that.
Okay.
But
are you hiding in plain sight?
Yeah, you have to hide. Like it's impossible to just hide.
Yeah.
But the reason I say you need to dress like someone who works there is because they'll see you and they just think that's a guy doing his job.
Yeah.
And you have absolutely no attire.
Well, what about scanning the ticket?
I mean, that's what you need backing from your employer because you need encrypted phones. You need equipment that doesn't link anything to you or the program.
Yeah. So you also need some people outside the program that are, buying your ticket.
You don't accomplish greatness by yourself, but I think the most important thing is you can't hold a camera in your hand. You're going to get caught. That's what happened to Stallions. And I think the reason I want to dress up like a maintenance person is you want to be able to install cameras throughout the stadium, scratch every serial number that you have off of all of your equipment, and make sure that you can have the video imagery go directly to your encrypted phone.
Okay.
And so, that's
how you would do it?
That's how I would do it.
Okay, here's how I would do it. I would, first of all, I'm not buying the tickets. There's going to be 3 people removed buying these tickets. So if I'm sending you Jacob Wilson to go, I'm Jim Harbaugh. I'm sending Jacob Wilson. No. Garrett Ross is buying the ticket and sending it to Jack McKenzie, who's then sending it to Jacob Wilson on a phone that belongs to Dan Simpson. That's it. There's no, that way, oh, Dan Simpson has this ticket. I don't know who Dan Simpson is. I'm walking in, especially if I'm going to sit in the seats. And
every phone has to be a burner too, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. A burner phone. So I'm sending that, but when they scan the ticket, you got to log into the app to do it. So the app has to belong to somebody that you log into. So that's got to be Dan Simpson's account. And Dan Simpson's Gmail address is dansimpson@gmail 5511119999. Kind of that kind of thing. So then I'm going to dress like just kind of a normal fan, and I'll have, you'll need your spy glasses on, those kind of things, the tiny, you're going to have to spend more than, you can't just be sitting there doing this.
No, that's what I'm saying.
You can't, you have to, if you're really going to go for this, then you need to have, the spy glasses on, or somehow, tie a GoPro around your neck and cover it up with something.
I mean, I thought about the GoPro option too, but not enough focal strength to capture someone doing signals from, the other side of a football field. That's why I'm installing cameras, small ones that are very inconspicuous about the visitor side of the stadium.
Okay, so you would just put little tiny ones Yeah.
Yeah. And frankly, if you scratch serial numbers off, you don't have any kind of registration linked to you or anyone that you work with. If someone just stumbles upon these cameras, they can't link them back to you.
Yeah. Right? So then you can wonder, who it is. And you're probably going to say it's Harbaugh. But
I mean, you sound like a crazy person.
yeah, but then I can't prove it. As opposed to this way, when I sit Connor down and go, okay, where did we go wrong with this? And you go, oh, I bought the tickets and walked in myself and did all that.
I mean, it's not about trying to do it and not get caught. It's if you get caught, you have absolute deniability.
Yeah. So, and here's the deal. People will notice things. And I'll give you the Jeff Lebby example. When Jeff Lebby was the running backs coach here at Baylor, he's now the OC at Oklahoma. He went to, on their bye week, Tulsa versus Oklahoma, at his alma mater, Oklahoma, but he stood on the Tulsa sideline because Philip Montgomery was the previous offensive coordinator at Baylor, and he was up there. He went and stood on the sideline, and he was wearing a Baylor shirt. And Jeff Lebby's a big dude. I mean, he's like a really tall, broad, big guy.
Large guy.
Yeah, he's a big dude. And so his former roommate was on the Oklahoma staff and was like, hey, man. And so they had to remove Jeff Lebby from the Oklahoma sideline because Baylor was playing Oklahoma. Wasn't even that long from that either. It was like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So, and I know he got a proper talking to when he got back here. I don't think there was any malicious intent on Jeff Lebby's part in that.
Bad optics.
It was just a silly decision to where they're going to see you. Like, you can go to the game. Like, you were invited. You can go see your friend, but you can't stand on the sideline during the game and
wearing Baylor stuff.
Yeah, you can't do that. So people will notice. And then when they start to get wind that they think that this is going on, believe me, they will tear through everything they have available to nail you to the wall. Like, Ohio State's already, like, there's a picture that's out with Connor Stallions holding this big thing of signals, and Ohio State has already kind of confirmed to some people in the media that they think that that's their signals. So they're like, yeah, they think that's the signals, and they think they have video of him walking into the stadium and videotaping their signals. We'll see how that gets adjudicated out, but this was not like, and I use the term Ocean's 11 in that Andy Garcia is standing in the vault wondering how this happened. Like, everyone knows now what's kind of gone on. The thing is, what can you do about it? And that's Jim Harbaugh. That's his defense, at least I'm sure in his own thing, is like, what are they going to do?
Yep.
What are they going to do? What, like, he's not going to, are they going to take away all his money? Are they going to take away his opportunity? Like, the NFL won't care that he's doing this. They don't care. As a matter of fact, they're like, well, that's some Belichick type stuff there. Let's see what you can do.
And the NFL's already had to deal with this. And as far as we know, we don't have any more Spygate scandals in the NFL.
Yeah, they've dealt with it. And, like, again, Bill Belichick's still coaching, and he's still over there. So, and there are other teams that are doing this. And the reason that this is so egregious, honestly, if this was PJ Fleck doing this would be embarrassing for Minnesota and for PJ Fleck. But it would come out in the offseason and people wouldn't care. But the fact that Michigan is so good in their national championship caliber and that they're doing this to not only Big Ten teams, but apparently he's scouting other teams as well. Yeah. The other thing I would do is I wouldn't do it myself either.
Nope.
I would not do it myself. I would have people, especially there, you're there to collect the footage and make sure it's coming in right. And that's it. I'll deal with the footage when I get done with it.
Yeah.
So that most crimes that like you get caught, like people get caught for, like you either are not, you get away with it because you're like so privileged and wealthy that you can kind of like push your way out of it, or the reason you get caught is that you made so many mistakes along the way that you're like, why did you even commit the crime in the first place?
Yeah, you stopped caring, got lazy, and frankly, not only did you stop caring, but you stopped caring about what's going to happen if we ever get caught.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're just like, oh, well, what's going to happen? And now that's the perfect, like, again, Jim Harbaugh's going to be like, well, what are you going to do to me? Oh, you're suspend me for 7 games next year? Well,
I'm going to go coach in a different league.
I'm going to go coach in a different league and never come back, and I'll have a national title. And I will have done what I wanted to do at my alma mater. I've set them up for years in the future.
Yes.
So I'm not worried about it. Everything's fine here. Bye-bye. The athletic director's headache is over. I can leave and I can go make the same money or more in the NFL. And, they'll be thrilled to have me. And when the first person at the press conference asked the owner about, well, how do you feel about the sign stealing scandal at Michigan? Well, Jim and I have talked, and we feel that there's no place for that here at the Chicago Bears or Las Vegas Raiders, and we're just glad that he is on the cutting edge of coaches, and we're going to move forward, and we're happy to have Jim here. Or that was that was the past, this is the future, blah 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 blah.
They say something so boring that you zone out and forget about why we're even having a conversation.
Yeah. Or there's better rules in the NFL. Sign stealing is not really a thing because we have radios in the helmets, and the other things have happened. So we've kind of ahead of the curve. So Jim knows that, and and Jim can be like, well, I didn't really know about it anyway. It was more of just a thing that that happened, and I used it, but I didn't realize the lengths it was going, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, well, Jacob, thanks for 2 great days in a row.
Of course.
I'm very, very, very happy to see you when we get a chance to. Thanks to Jack. Thanks to Garrett. Pierre Nugent comes back tomorrow, and we go through who beat Pierre last week. I think Jack did. Jack didn't?
He didn't.
Did you beat Pierre?
I think me and Pierre tied.
You and Pierre tied. Well, that doesn't mean you had to beat him. So great news for me. My punishments are gone, and everyone else gets mine. I can't wait for tomorrow's show. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving